January 19th, 2017. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 118 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
So let's just get this out of the way, all right? As
right.
I'm sure all of our listeners know,
It's nice to take it right off the bat. Just pound it right in.
just bad beat. That's what
Yeah.
I agree. That's what I agree. The Chargers are moving to Los Angeles.
That is confirmed.
So we are going to talk about, I was thinking about it, Mike. I've got so many conflicting feelings about this.
Oh,
that
I know.
As we talk about it, I'll probably contradict myself along the way. But
sure,
it's just,
sure.
It's,
I mean, we've lived here all of our lives, and
Yes.
that's our team. We love the Chargers, but the last few years have been so rough.
Yeah.
It's kind of like good riddance, in a way.
That is, in a way, that's right. And certainly when it comes to the ownership,
Right.
we have no allegiance or loyalty to the ownership at all.
No,
Terrible.
Let's see. My first owner with the Chargers, let me put it this way, the first owner when I followed the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as a little kid, I didn't really follow the Chargers.
Right,
They were
right.
owners. But Gene Klein was the first owner
uh-huh.
that, we really bought into. And Klein was a good owner. I had no problem with Gene Klein.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the Spanos family,
Yeah.
terrible.
Just really terrible. And
Terrible.
Dean Spanos is certainly the villain in San Diego these days. You were talking about the team. It's been bad lately. And the Chargers have never been a great team.
No, the 1 year they went to the Super Bowl was kind of a fluke.
It really was.
It wasn't
yes.
one of their better teams.
No, it wasn't.
It just turned out everything fell into place.
They had a great offense back when Dan Fouts was quarterback and
Right.
Don Coryell was coaching the team, but no defense.
No defense.
So, it's
It's
not
funny,
like they blew
had-
teams away.
They had Fred Dean back then, and they had some defensive players who were very good.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, as a team, they did not have a good defense.
Yeah.
Every game, it was like, okay, well, we'll score 45 points. We just have to hope we can hold them to 44.
Yeah, that's exactly
that was
That's exactly
the
right,
way
yeah.
I felt about every game.
That was it. Well, Mike, let me ask you this. NFL teams move, and
Sure.
that's not a new thing. They don't really care about the loyalty of the fans in the cities that they leave. We've seen that.
It's a business.
time and time.
Bottom line is the business.
But have you ever seen a team leave a city and go to a new city that doesn't want them?
Right, who actually has a headline in the paper, don't come, we don't want you.
That's right. And there was it the Clippers or Lakers? I don't know if they were playing each other, but here recently,
Right.
this last weekend, they announced Dean Spanos was in the crowd.
He was at the game. It was at a Clipper game.
Okay,
They announced
yeah.
him at the game, and the whole arena booed.
This is in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Oh my God, what is he thinking? He's sitting there and they're booing him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, new football team. You're supposed to yay, I'll go buy a shirt.
And not to add too much gossip to the show, but you've kind of heard some secondhand things about Dean Spanos.
Right.
That, again, it's secondhand. So,
Right. Well, I have a patient who works for the Chargers and has for many, many years.
It's older woman, right?
An older
like
woman. She's in her mid-70s.
Okay.
She's worked in the ticket office for well before the Spanoses were there.
Yeah.
And she told me that he is a real piece of work.
Yeah.
She said he walks through the office and says stuff that shouldn't probably say in
Just
front of him.
like cussing up a storm?
Cussing up
Yeah.
a storm, F this, F that, F
Yeah.
this, F that, in
Yeah.
front of, like a bunch of women.
Well, employees, basically. It's not very
right.
professional.
Right.
It's-
Even if it was a man, it's
Yeah.
employees,
Right.
and you got to act a certain way.
Yeah.
And she has very little respect for him. So,
Well, people have been asking us, so are you going to still root for the Chargers? Is there another team you're going to root for? And I know some people who are going to still root for the Chargers.
sure.
I can understand people just being so angry that they're not going to root for the Chargers. For me, it's very simple. I was a San Diego Chargers fan because I live in San Diego.
Right.
It's as simple as that. That's
Yeah.
why I support because, personnel, they switch all the time, right? The team is constantly changing. So
Sure,
it's
sure.
not like you are loyal to certain players, although, you can be that way.
Right, right.
But, look at Drew Brees, right? He was a
Right.
great quarterback.
I still like Drew Brees.
I do too, but I'm not a Saints fan.
No, I
Right?
root for Drew Brees, though, in a game.
yeah.
I mean, if the Saints are playing somebody like, say, Atlanta, and I don't really feel bound to eat, I do root for them because
Yeah.
I like Drew Brees.
Yeah.
So
So-
it'll be the same with the Chargers.
Yeah, there are certain players that we like, but no, I'm not going to, they're not going to be my team. I don't know if I'll have a team. Somebody was asking me
Well,
and
we like football.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And I love the Red Zone personally. I mean, I've
That's
said that
right, the
before.
Red Zone channel,
I love
yeah.
the Red Zone channel. I watch all the games.
yeah.
So I'll still watch every single game, including the Charger game, when they're getting ready to score on the Red Zone.
Yeah.
And, if they made it to a playoff, would I root for them? Well, probably. Depends on who they
I don't
play.
know. I don't even know.
You know,
at this
I mean,
point. Yeah, I guess it would, but
I
it
root-
depends
you
on
know.
who they play. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on who they play. My wife's from Minnesota, so we always root for the Vikings.
Yeah,
'cause
see,
she
my
likes the
wife's from
Vikings.
Illinois, so we root for the Bears. So,
Right. So
yeah.
sure. So you'll still root for
Yeah,
them. You don't have to live there.
Yeah.
A couple things I want to mention is number one, and most importantly, so no more free well drinks for listeners. It's Charger gear they're going to be getting. I've got a boatload. I mean, a boatload of Charger gear.
you do.
I have so many shirts and hats. It's just unbelievable
Well,
how much I have. And it's all useless now.
Yeah.
So, no well drink. Just here. Oh, here's your Charger.
Why, you should
shirt.
will it to your daughters. So when they're older, it'll be like antiques.
Yeah,
and
right.
like, the Chargers used to be in San Diego.
It'll
and they
still
can
be
sell
worth
it.
nothing. I'll tell you what, my wife and I were talking about this. We're walking through the supermarket, and here's this Charger cooler, above the.
Oh, Mike,
above
I
the
took
stuff.
a picture of that and I
did you?
posted, I tweeted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't even on discount. It was still
it
like
was still-
$11.
Yeah, I was like, who's going to buy that? This one actually said San Diego.
Yeah. Oh,
on
yeah.
it.
The one that I did too. Yeah.
Because I actually have a toolbox that's a Charger toolbox, but it's just got the Charger logo, which is no good anymore either,
that's-
evidently,
yeah,
right?
that's
But
right.
and it says Chargers, but it doesn't say San Diego.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So I mean,
we haven't even talked about that stupid logo that was around for about a week. That
yeah.
LA with the lightning
the
bolt. Boy,
lame
that,
logo.
that was
Oh, my
terrible. They got
God.
rid of that quick.
well, in their haste to move, they probably got some junior high kid to design that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
It looked like I did it. That's what it looked like.
It was that bad. I agree.
It looked like I probably did it. The other thing I want to say is, besides all my gear and stuff that I have a Charger throwback T-shirt, the baby blue T-shirt that I bought one year. Well, it was the year they fired Marty Schottenheimer, and they were 14-2.
Okay, right.
And I bought that because I thought, okay, I think they're going to make this Super Bowl this year. I mean, they have a legitimate chance. And I'm going to buy this brand new shirt. And I bought it like halfway through the season. It's still sitting in a drawer in my dresser, never touched.
Okay.
Brand new. I probably can't fit in it now because the shirt shrank somehow in the drawer. They shrink.
Yeah.
So I won't be able to wear that, but it's brand new. All the other stuff is old. And I feel like, okay, but I look at that shirt and it really pisses me off.
All right, and so that people are going to get that instead of well drinks.
Instead of well
I guess
drinks.
you're just not interested in meeting listeners anymore.
No,
then,
I
right?
just, they're all mad. Well, this one's dirty. Yeah, well, I wore it a ton of times. I mean, I have some that are pretty beat up. I still have my Charger Power T-shirts back from the 80s.
Yeah.
My daughter was wearing one of them as a nightgown for a while there. Oh, it's terrible.
All right. Well, this is a gambling podcast, so let's move on. But let's still talk about football. So it turns out that the college championship game was last week. Great game.
Yes,
We've been
a
seeing some
wonderful
crummy NFL games, but that was a great
That was a
college
good
game.
game.
And Clemson won. They were the underdogs. I think they were like 6-point underdogs.
Yes.
Well, apparently Vegas really took a bath on this game. A huge amount of the wagering was on Clemson and on the over.
Right.
Which it was 34-31. So the over also won. William Hill, one of the sports books operating in Nevada, they alone suffered a 7-figure loss.
Wow.
So that's all people were doing. They just wanted to bet on Clemson.
Yeah,
And-
well, maybe they'll make it up on the Super Bowl. Or
yeah,
something.
there are times when the books do well, but it kind of shows you that lines don't move too drastically. Even though
Right.
all this money was on Clemson, they're not going to drastically move the line. And,
Well, I mean, it's hard to. If you had asked me before the game, I would have said Alabama wins by 14.
oh, really? That much?
Yeah. I mean, they're a great team.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they'd probably beat the Chargers.
Yeah, I think
Honestly. I mean, they'd at least give them a good run for their money.
Yeah.
And so I would have picked Alabama of course, they won, 4 of the last 5 years?
Yeah,
But the one year they didn't win, it was Clemson.
Clemson, yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm just glad it was a good game.
Yeah, it was a great
And I
game.
think from now on, what I'm going to do, here's when someone asks you if you are rooting for the Chargers or do you have a favorite team, just tell them what I always say. What do I always say? I root for the same thing every game. Overtime.
Oh, that's right. He loves
I
overtime.
love overtime.
Yeah.
Overtime's the best. Everyone should root for overtime. Who cares who wins? Overtime is where it's at.
That's right. That's
Unless you
right.
got
That's
money on the game, and then you do have other priorities.
All right. Yeah, well, maybe we'll touch upon that a little bit later in the show. One more This is a great football story. So Brett McMurphy over at ESPN posted this fun story. So back on November 25th, Brian Yankovitz and Russ Axelrod, 2 lifelong friends in Bayside, New York, decided to bet on an NFL team that week. And what they were going to do is if they won that week, they were going to parlay every week up to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we talked about this before, doing something like this.
Yeah. So these guys, they happened to pick the Green Bay Packers. And their initial bet was $300. Well, the Packers have won every game since then, including beating the Cowboys here in the playoffs. So their initial bet was $300. It's now worth $28,213.60. And if they win the next game, Green Bay's playing Atlanta, and they've already made this wager. I think the sportsbook has verified this wager's gone through. If they win next game, it'll be worth $76,176.70. And they say they're going to bet it all on the Super Bowl, and they're not going to hedge.
So they're taking the money line, basically.
I don't know. It wasn't clear if it was the money line or the point spread, but either way, I don't know.
If they're
what
betting on Green Bay every week,
you'd think it'd be the money line.
You'd think it'd be the money line.
The article didn't go into that, but they say, no, we're letting it ride. We're not going to make any separate bets. They're not going to hedge the bet if they get to the Super Bowl.
Well, why
It's
should they? All they invested is $300.
That's right. That's what they plan to do, and they're
Right.
sticking with it. So
Yeah.
hopefully,
Good for them. I hope they
Not
win.
that I'm necessarily rooting for Green Bay, but it'd be nice if they won.
Well, now
so.
hearing this, I may have to root for Green Bay just for those guys.
Yeah, really.
I'd love to see that win.
Yeah.
But I can't root for Green Bay.
It's tough.
I mean, and my wife's from Minnesota, so Green Bay's their rival.
Well,
But
if I'm a Bears fan, I'm certainly not a Packers fan, right?
But a lot
So
of her family are Green Bay fans because
Yeah.
they, someone live in Wisconsin. God, I just want to see new teams.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like why I didn't want Alabama to win. It's the same reason I don't want, Green Bay to win or
New
New
England.
England.
Yeah.
Give me Atlanta.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see after this week. Anyway, we are kind of rooting for him. Hey, we got some great news. A couple weeks ago, we won the Editor's Choice Trippies for Best Podcast. We actually tied with Vegas Fanboy.
Good.
And so that's a very nice, our
Yes,
first
very nice.
award-winning podcast.
Thank you, everybody who voted for us.
Well, it's all the editors.
I know. But even the people who voted for us.
Oh, on the reader's
the
poll. Yeah, the
reader's
reader's
poll.
choice was 500 by midnight. So congratulations to Tim and Michelle.
Yes.
Of course, they put on a great show. So, but
But I'm sure we garnered a few votes in that.
I think so. That Chuck was saying that it was very close. The voting was very close this year. So maybe we were in the race. I don't know.
Well,
but,
whoever voted for us, we appreciate
yeah,
it.
thanks very much. Actually, Tim and Michelle on their latest show, they go through all the Trippies. So listen to that episode. And I imagine Vegas Tripping is going to be releasing a podcast of the live streaming when they actually announced the
they do
awards
it.
last week. It hasn't come out yet, so I suspect that's coming up.
Yeah, I think we won anyway because we just enjoy doing this, right?
Oh yeah, we're
winning because
you're a winner, Mike.
yeah. No, I mean, did I get a trophy?
Yeah, I'll make one for you from all these pieces over here. Well, yeah, okay.
But no, seriously. I mean,
we love doing this.
this.
Yeah,
So we win no matter what.
Yeah, that's right. We win no matter what.
I'm gonna keep telling myself that
Yeah.
till we really win.
I just wish that was the case at the casino every week.
No, we win there too.
Sometimes. Yeah. So on last episode, we talked about the Quest for Rewards promo that Caesars has going and how Canadian residents who win something through that promo have to solve a math question within a certain amount of time to actually receive the prize. Several listeners provided additional information. So what it is Canadian sweepstakes law states that a giveaway cannot use pure luck to determine who wins. There must be at least some element of skill involved.
Skill, not math.
If
If it's stated skill could mean a lot of
skill
things.
could be anything, but typically that skill is a math problem. that has to be solved within a certain amount of time. And like we guessed on our last show, the problem is usually something like, what's 5 times 30 minus 12? It's just arithmetic, just like that.
Right.
And they have to figure it out within a certain amount of time.
I think they should get away from math and make skill something more like, you got to be able to stack.
Yeah, physical skill.
Yeah, physical skill.
You got to make 3 free throws in a row.
Yeah, right. You've got 12 hours to make 3 in a row.
That's right. You just 2. No, 2 hours later.
There's some guy who has to stand there and monitor it. Come on.
That's right. Yeah, really, from the Canadian Sweepstakes Council.
Right. I want that job, actually.
Oh, actually, that would be
Be
good.
a good job. You just sit there, you're eating Taco Bell, watching some guy try and make free throws. He can barely stand.
Eating Taco Bell. Where'd that come from?
I just had Taco Bell.
Oh, yeah. I actually witnessed you consume it right there. We got an email from listener Guy in the UK. I'm just going to read what he said here. My question is about your thoughts on strategies on pressing your bets while playing craps. I've heard your tales of building up large bets during a monster roll, whereas my own basic strategy of alternating between collecting and pressing a single unit when numbers are rolled, usually just 6 and 8, doesn't seem to ever rack up massive profits. Also, do you ever press your pass line bets? Yeah, we have told stories about these big presses, but I can't say that when we do that, it's smart.
No, it's not smart. But if you want to have a huge roll,
a huge win on a single roll.
On a single roll, you almost have to do that,
Yes,
right? I mean,
yes.
if you just kept the same bet every time, you'd win,
Sure.
obviously, and that's probably a smarter way to play.
In the long run, it is a better way to play. Right?
But I mean, you're not going to have that huge monster
Because,
roll.
I think about this big roll that we had fairly recently where I talked about how I had an 8 up to $2,400.
Right.
I should have taken that $2,400 down and made it a $6 8. If I was smart, would I have taken $2,400 of my own dollars, walked into a casino and just put it down on an 8?
What?
Are you still there, Dr.
What?
Mike?
I can't hear you, Mark.
You can't hear?
Something's wrong here. I'm not hearing this.
I'll try to adjust the audio. But no, in the long run, well, here's the thing. Craps is a negative EV game. Right. So, when should you press? How should you press? Well, you shouldn't press. You shouldn't play the game at all.
Right, right.
So
right. It should be in the poker room.
That's right.
Poker.
So, what it comes down to is, press if you want to have that big roll. Just keep in mind that when you press, that 7 out might be right around the corner, and then, you shouldn't have pressed.
Okay. So now that all the logical talk is over,
all right,
let me give the real explanation.
All right, let's hear it.
This is what I do. Okay, and I think you'll agree I stick to this for the most part. I try and collect my initial outlay first.
So if you got a place bet, you collect it at least once?
I collect once, right? And then once I've collected, and let's say I have a pass line bet with odds, if the point was made and I have say 3 place bets and I've collected 3 times, not each individual one, but say, I collected 3 8s and I had a 5, an 8, and a 9.
But you've basically made your money back on all your place bets.
Right.
Yeah.
For that roll, I've made my money back. Then I just press every time. So 1 unit. So if I have a $30 6, I go to 60. When it hits, I go to 90. So I'm collecting a little. Yeah. Then I go to 120. Then I go to 150.
Yeah, so you're pressing.
And then once I get to that 150 mark, then, weird things happen.
Then you're thinking, oh boy, I'm going to try to jump on this and catch a really big roll.
Right.
Then maybe you go to 300,
I might
600,
go to 300
or jump up quick.
450 or something. Right. So, that's kind of my theory.
And that's
pressing.
The way you like to play.
Exactly.
Again, this is not advice, but it's the way you like to play.
Definitely not advice because that's not the smartest thing to do. But I try to be aggressive, but at the same time, collect on that roll. I don't want to just immediately press. You see people who immediately press, and sometimes that works in their favor, but that's a very aggressive way to play. Yeah. As far as the pass line, what I've been doing lately, and I guess this has worked out more often than not, but I make a bet like a $50 line bet with full odds. And if they hit that first point, I actually go down to a $25 line bet.
Reduce it,
Yeah. So I'm ahead on the pass line for that roll. Now, if they make a second point at 25, then I go back to 50.
Okay.
Because if they don't make that, I've still won the 25 bet. It's still a winning roll for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I go down instead of up on the pass line.
And us mere mortals, we could do the same thing, starting with maybe 10 on the line,
right,
reducing it to 5 if a point is made, and then pressing after that.
Yeah. That's not a bad way to go.
Yeah, that's not bad.
You know, I mean, you are putting a lot out there hoping the first point is made.
Yes, right.
And, you could argue that's probably not too smart. You should probably stick with 5.
But, the philosophy behind pressing is, well, I'm going to try to catch a big roll. And
Right.
it doesn't always work, but every once in a while, you catch lightning and then,
Right.
you
And it's
win a
like
lot.
we've said this before. We talk about when that does work for us. We don't talk about all the other times because it's really not very interesting. It's
When
like,
we lose, a lot of
you
times
made-
we try to jump on a roll and then 7 out. It's
Yeah.
like, why did I press?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, it's like my dad says, why is it when we got everything all pressed up, the 7 comes up? Well, because the 7's going to come by every roll, Dad. We've just been lucky to that point.
All right. So that's our advice, if you call it that, on pressing. We've got another email from listener Brian. I'm just going to read this. Is Shoot to Win Craps truly a random dice game? Shoot to Win Craps is the machine game, kind of that bubble craps that is an automated machine. Is Shoot to Win Craps truly a random dice game, or do you think the machines can set the roll to whatever they want? I can see the use of magnets, the length of vibration during the roll, slight tilts in the floor of the dice pit, etc., being used to manipulate the roll based on how much money is currently bet on certain outcomes. I realize you guys play at the real tables instead of these mechanical monstrosities, but would still like to hear your opinion. Also, is Shoot to Win Craps allowed in California since it's a machine and not a table game? I'd be very surprised if these machines can be set in any kind of way to manipulate the rolls of the dice.
I wouldn't be surprised if they can be set that way, but I don't think they are set that
No,
way.
I
Because
don't-
there's no reason to do that.
First of all, there's no reason. And the amount of technology required for that just wouldn't be worth the risk.
of getting caught.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Because the game just played fairly, the house still has an edge.
Right. It's just like slot machines. You'll always hear people say, this casino pays out more than this casino, or they're looser or whatever. I mean, they're probably set the same. There's rules they have to abide by. And for them to take a risk to make their machines tighter
Yeah.
than's legally allowed,
Yeah.
why would you risk that?
Because you still have the edge.
You
Yeah, no,
still
it's
have a
true.
hedge. I mean, in the long run, you're going to win.
Yeah. Well, and we actually have a phone call here coming up from a player who won quite a bit at Shoot to Win Craps. So you definitely can win on those machines. You
Oh,
can
sure.
catch hot rolls on there too.
Yeah. I think it's like any other, right? Craps table,
I think-
basically.
sure, yeah.
Now, what about in California?
Oh, so no, that's interesting because I've never seen one in California.
Neither have I.
But I have seen roulette machines
Right.
that use, balls that go around in a circle and drop in just like a real roulette game, but it's
just
a machine.
It's just a machine. There's no
So,
dealer.
has anybody seen a Shoot to Win Craps game in California? Let us know. I have a feeling that since the roulette is there, the Shoot to Win might qualify also. So, but
Does Harris Rincon have a roulette machine?
yes,
They do.
Yeah, they do.
And the dealer's really cute.
Oh, yeah, on the screen.
On
you
the
mean?
screen, yeah. The girl on the screen who deals,
Oh, that's interesting.
I think we were talking about. She's one of the nicer dealers out there.
is one of the nicer dealers. Maybe she auditioned for it. All right. So our good buddy Taylor, he was talking about playing poker in a casino. And he finally did do it on his last trip to Las Vegas. He said he didn't care much for it. And I can understand why. When you're used to casino gambling and all the whooping it up and high-fiving with everybody, casino poker is a much different animal.
And Taylor likes to chat.
Yeah, and, have fun. And,
yeah, like me. I mean, it's just boring when you can't talk to anybody.
And, depending on what kind of players you find at the poker table, right, they're out to get your money.
Right.
So
and some of them are just not friendly.
That's true. They should be, but you're right.
Most people are friendly, but there are some who are definitely not friendly, do not want to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
You're their adversary.
Or to their stupidity, they'll complain about how the way you're playing.
Right.
If you're
Right. That's another thing.
I know, it's so awful.
You should never complain about the way somebody plays.
Yes.
Because typically, if you're complaining, you think they're playing bad, which is
what you
in your
want.
favor,
Yeah. Now,
which is what you want.
If you want to get mad and you say, God, why do you play so good?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Why don't you leave? You're too good a player.
You get that at a table. You should leave. You're just way too good for this table. Oh, okay.
Well, anyway.
Is there a 2040 table?
So anyway, Taylor was playing a limit hold'em game that had a kill. And he asked if we could talk about kill games on the show. And I don't think we ever have talked about kills
No, I don't
before,
think we
right?
have.
So a kill game in poker is a game where if a single player wins 2 hands in a row, the limits for the next hand increase.
That's a way to get bigger pots. basically.
Yeah, exactly. More action at the table. So for example, at a full kill, $3, $6 limit Texas Hold'em game, if a player won 2 hands in a row, the next hand would be 6-12. That's a full kill.
Right. Double. Basically, it's a double.
Right. Now, Taylor was playing at a 2-4 game with a half kill. And a half kill means that if a player wins 2 hands in a row, the next hand is half as much. So at a 2-4 game, it would become a 3-6 game.
Yeah. It's not half as much. The limits increase
by a
1.5.
half.
Yeah.
They increase by a half. So now
Right.
they're 1.5 what they used to be.
1.5
That's
what
right.
they
That's
used
right.
to be.
So, and another rule, here's the big rule. The person who is responsible for the kill, so the player who won 2 hands in a row, is forced to make a kill blind equal to the small bet. So in a 3-6 game that has been killed up to a 6-12 game, the killer has to make a $6 blind bet before any of the cards are dealt.
It's kind of like punishment for winning 2 hands.
Yeah, that is kind of the way it is.
And it sucks when, the second hand you won was maybe a very small pot.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're great, I got to force to be in here.
Sometimes they have limits, that you have to have won a certain amount in the 2 pots.
Right.
But the way they keep track, they have a lammer on the table. It varies from casino to casino, but it might say no kill on one side and kill on the other. Or it could say no kill on one side, half kill on the other. Sometimes it says first pot on one side and then kill on the other. Basically, every time a player wins a hand, they get that lammer. And if it's the first hand they've won in a row, it'll stay up on no kill or first pot.
Right.
And then if they win the next hand, the dealer flips it over to kill so that everybody knows, the camera and everybody at the table knows that it's a kill pot. In addition, the player that kills the game will be the last to act on the first betting round. So even if that player is in middle position, action will actually move past him on the first betting round, and then he'll be the last to act.
Since he's already put up a certain amount of money, that kill money, he gets to act last. So if he wants to raise...
Yeah, if he's really an action junkie.
Right, and he wants to raise...
After
everyone's passed, he has that option to do that. That's the only advantage he has, really.
That's true, because really you don't want to be forced to put in a kill.
Right,
but you've decided you're going to play it a kill game. So that's part... Because you do have to make that bet.
Yeah, it's not an option.
If you're killing it, you have to make that kill blind. Now, I've never seen anybody refuse. If you refuse, they'd make you leave the table, they'd kick you out of the casino, or they'd charge. I don't know. I've never seen anybody confused. I mean, you should know when you're in a kill game, but you do have to make that bet.
Right. And the thing is after that first round, you go in order.
Yeah, right. Then it just goes back to the regular order.
So you're not always last. So the only advantage you have is
it's only on that first round. Now, in some casinos, if there have been raises in front of the kill person, or like 2 raises, then maybe things change and the killer's not last to act. It'll really depend on the casino.
Right.
But if there are no raises, the killer's always the last to act on the first betting round.
I guess one of the big advantages too, besides that you can raise it, is also if it is raised in front of you, you're last to act. Mm-hmm. So, if one guy raises it and 2 people call, then you could fold.
Well, what I would say is if somebody raises it and then somebody else re-raises,
right,
you can fold.
Or even calls. If you don't have a good hand, you've got 3 people to beat,
right,
you can fold. But if you win in order,
maybe you've got a hand that's worth 1 raise,
right,
but not 2. Against 2.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely. Yeah.
Finally, even if the limits of a hand have been increased due to a kill, the small and big blinds do not increase. So if you're in a 3-6 game with a full kill, the blinds are typically 1-3 in a 3-6 game. If the game is killed to 6-12, those blinds still stay at $1 and $3.
Unless the killer is one of the people that's in the smaller big blind.
That's right. And if the killer's in there, he still just has to put in the kill blind. Right. Like in our example, just $6. He doesn't have to put in the kill blind and his regular blind.
Smaller big blind.
Right. That way, players who just happen to be in the blinds for a kill aren't punished. Right. So that wouldn't be fair to people. Suddenly it's a kill game and you've got to put in more for your blind.
9-2
just because it's the pin I want to have. Yeah. So now in some games, like Omaha 8, which is a split pot game, a kill only occurs when a single player scoops an entire pot on one hand, like wins high and low, or there's only a high.
Right.
And they scoop, then there would be a kill. And typically the pot has to be a minimum amount for a kill to occur. So if you're at a 3-6 game, maybe the pot has to be $40. And if it's less than $40, even if you scoop, you don't have to kill it.
You'll see that a lot more with Omaha, where one person wins a pot. Mm-hmm. And so you'll see more kills in an Omaha. If you're playing an Omaha kill game, you're probably going to see a few more kills than you would like in a Texas
I think
Hold'em.
so too. Yes, I think so too. It depends on how many players are at the table, of course.
Sure.
But yes. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's how kills work. Hopefully, we explained it okay. And Taylor, if you ever go back, that's how a kill works. And
Do you like the kill?
I like the kill. Yes.
Yeah, I do. I mean, we're kind of action junkies, so we like the bigger pots.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the kill's a good thing.
We have kills in our home game.
Right.
And almost every time we play Texas Hold'em or Omaha, it's some kind of kill.
Yeah, and we'll have where we dealt all the way around and it's a kill the whole way.
Yes, right.
Especially in Omaha.
In Omaha, because everybody's scooping or there's no low. Yeah, the whole time.
A lot of times there's just no low.
Yep. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. All right, let's jump to our voicemail hotline. Remember, call our hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
And maybe we'll play your clip on the show. So on our last episode, we talked about Poker Atlas as a good resource for Vegas poker games. Listener Mark called in with another suggestion.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Mark from Minneapolis. I know you guys talk a lot about craps, but the last few episodes you talked a little bit about poker in Las Vegas and kind of where to find different levels of games. I suggest anybody who's going to play poker in Las Vegas download the Bravo Poker Live app for their phone or their tablet. It can let you immediately scan what games are in each room of every casino that offers poker. Tells you their tournament schedules and even how many people are on the wait list for each game. Saves you some time walking across back and forth to find a different room or go to one room and see that it's full and have to go to someplace else. So once again, download the Bravo Poker Live app. It's a great tool to see what games are being played in Las Vegas. Thank you much. Love the show.
Yeah, good. I had forgotten about this app. I had it on my phone a long time ago when I was going to play some poker in casinos. I haven't done that in a long time, but that's good advice.
How do they update that so quick? He's saying that, how many seats are open.
I mean, it's up to the casino, right? So if you've got a casino that's not really participating, then maybe you won't get the most up-to-date information. So it's not like Bravo has hired people to stand in the casino and keep track.
That's what I'm saying. Some pit boss in the casino has to log that in, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it's automated at these casinos. It's not like somebody has to manually do it. It's all the sign-up sheets and everything are all automated and it keeps track of it. So, but good suggestion.
So you've got a link to that, I assume.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that on the show notes.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. So last episode, we promised a crap story from Ethan.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Ethan from Virginia. I just wanted to call in with a quick crap story. I was hanging out with my buddy Doug at his house where we have a little craps table set up. And I was rolling, he was playing the dealer. And I got on a really hot roll, and I said, man, I'm wasting all my luck here standing in your kitchen. I should be at the casino gambling. And then he said, well, here, let me roll, and you deal, and I'll show you how it would go if we were over at the casino playing with real money. And he started rolling really well and making points. And I said, see, we're wasting all this time and luck here. We should be at the casino. He said, there's no way. I said, well, if you make the next point, we're going. If you crap out, we won't go.
It sounds like two guys I know.
Yeah, I think that we may have done something similar to this in the past.
I think so.
Yeah.
Next roll, he hit the point, and we were in the car. Because of it was Christmas, we were really not looking to gamble a ton, so we decided to combine bankrolls, 200 each, for a total bankroll of 400 in order to play $10 craps with full odds and 2 come bets. Again, full odds. So we get to the casino, get on the table, starts out even for the first 2 shooters. The next 2, we lost a bunch of money. And then this woman rolled and got us just back over even. And then this old man started to shoot. And then on his come out roll, he rolled a 2 and then a 3. And I said, man, I don't have a great feeling about this guy rolling. But then he established a point. And I said, here we go. And then this guy didn't stop rolling until we had made over $900. At one point, we went up, down on the 9 3 times in a row for $210, and it was awesome. Just $70, $70, $70. As soon as he crapped out, we colored up. We bought him with 400 and cashed out at 14. Not a bad evening for about 1 hour's worth of time at the casino. Anyway, I don't really consider myself a superstitious person. I play smart with, try to making the best odds or play basic strategy during blackjack. But I thought it was pretty funny how the evening turned out. The whole way home, I got to say I told you. I had a feeling. Anyway, thanks for listening to my stories. I hope you all enjoyed them and keep up the great work on the show and have a happy New Year. Bye.
Thanks.
That story, it sounds like you're Ethan. I could see it.
Yeah.
No, Mike, we're going to, I guarantee.
Yeah,
it's
I guarantee it's going to work. And on the way home, I'm laying into you,
you know,
right?
like, see, oh, and you wanted to stay home.
Yeah,
That's what you'd say.
And you
Yeah.
wanted to go eat.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, though. Sometimes don't you kind of just feel like,
Well-
okay, I can do nothing wrong today?
Of course you feel that way,
Yeah,
but it's,
I mean,
it's
I know
nonsense.
I know it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does work, and you feel that
I
way.
know, it's
And
part
when
of the fun of gambling.
When the
I know.
stars line up, there's nothing better.
I know. I agree. All right. Speaking of shoot to win craps, here's Ken.
Hi, my name is Ken. I'm a new listener, really enjoying your show. Shout out to my buddy Ross, who turned me on to this podcast. I wanted to answer a question you had asked about bubble craps, and I'm sorry, I don't know the real name of it. I always refer to it as bubble craps, like those old bubble hockey games back in the day in the 80s when we were much younger. The bubble craps game, the one I'm familiar with, is that horseshoe, backed by the sports book. And your question was about the limits on those. The one at the horseshoe is set up with a $1 limit. So you can bet $1 on things like hardways, different things like that. But the pass line minimum is set at $2. So your question was, are those configurable? And it seems the answer to that is yes. I believe the one at Treasure Island is $5 pass line, but I can't imagine that the hardways have to be bet at $5 as well. So I do think they're configurable, but the one I'm very familiar with is the one there at the horseshoe, and it is definitely $1 minimum, $2 pass line minimum. Hope that answers that question. Hope all's well.
Yeah, this question had come up because we had a listener who was at a $3 minimum shoot to win craps game,
Right.
and that applied to all bets, including prop bets like the hardways.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That was crazy because you can bet $1 at a real table on a hardway, even if the table minimum is $10. So
Yeah, I can't believe there's a $5,
Yeah, that's
bubble
too
craps.
high. Yeah.
$5. There's
Just-
you
yeah,
get
just
the
play at a
regular
regular
tables,
table, yeah.
$5.
And I still think that those prop bets should be less than $1 because, again, you can bet dollars at real tables. Those should be
Right.
25 cents. You should be able
Yeah.
to make prop bets, hardways, what have you, for 25 cents. I don't know
Because when
if
you
they
cash out, you don't get coin.
right.
You're
Yeah,
going to get a printout,
you're gonna get a
right? You can
slip,
get
right, so-
18 cents or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean, you can get down to the penny, right?
So I don't know if they're programmable to less than $1, but I certainly think on prop bets
well,
they
if you're
should
going to be able to program something, you should be able to program it to anything, right?
Well, you'd think so,
a penny.
but it depends on how the machines were made. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Ken, for
Yep.
that info.
Yeah. Now, on our last episode, we were talking about Biloxi. And Mike, you were wondering if it was close to Graceland.
Right.
And it's not. It's like,
Yeah.
almost 400
Yeah,
miles
we looked
away.
that up
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah. But several listeners contacted us with another suggestion. Let's hear from Marty.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. Marty from Northern California. Hey, just heard you guys talking about Memphis and Graceland and then driving to a casino. I did that same trip a few years ago, and the best thing to do is stay in Memphis. It's great. See Graceland, go down on Beale Street if you like live country music. It's great. You can go to the Fender Museum, I think, is there, or the Gibson Museum is there. Lots of cool stuff. And then about an hour from Memphis is Tunica, Mississippi, just across the border in Mississippi. They've got a bunch of casinos there. I think there's a Golden Nugget there. There's a Horseshoe there. 100 times odds. Great place to go hang out for a day. Again, we made that trip a couple of times and then just back to the city for the nighttime. So probably a better bet than trying to drive all the way down to the Gulf Coast and spending 3 hours or 4 hours a day driving it. So anyway, that's my recommendation for great gambling just south of Memphis. Have a good one, guys. Love the show.
All right, before we talk about it, let's listen to the next call from Shannon because he has a Biloxi trip report and also talks about Tunica.
Okay. Very good.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Shannon from North Carolina. Called you back for two reasons. First, I wanted to do a little follow-up on the Biloxi trip report. I forgot to mention on the first call that in my really good crap session at the IP, I ended up winning $550, and that's one of my best crap sessions ever as far as a $550 profit. The second thing is that in the entire trip, I played crap 6 times and won 5 of those 6 sessions. So
Sweet.
anytime I can do that, that's a very good trip. Also won some on the slots at IP, and I had 2 winning blackjack sessions as well. So it was a great Biloxi trip. Now, the second reason I called back is I heard Dr. Mike mention something about Graceland and visiting Graceland. Well, if you want to do that, you should go to Tunica, Mississippi. Tunica is about 30 minutes to the south of Memphis. And if you ever go to Tunica, the best thing to do is to fly into Memphis, Tennessee, and rent a car. And it's about a 30-minute drive south on Highway 61 from Memphis into Tunica. Now, Tunica is a nice place to go gamble. They have really good craps games, especially at the Horseshoe in Tunica. They also have really nice rooms at the Horseshoe. That's my favorite hotel there, and it is a CET property, so I'm sure y'all wouldn't have a problem getting a room there. So that's where I would recommend that you stay. Now, the problem with Tunica is it's kind of isolated. There's not much to do other than gamble.
That's
However, if you want to have Graceland as a part of it, I think there's a company that sponsors tours of Graceland, and you'd be like only 30 minutes away from it. So perhaps you could combine a Graceland trip and a Tunica trip. Might be something you'd want to think about. Anyway, really enjoy your podcast, and congratulations on that Fire Bet win, and I hope to hear about more of those type wins in the future. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
So there you go, Graceland Tunica.
Yep. Yeah, except the problem is, and I think Marty made this mistake as well as Shannon, it's Tunica Graceland.
Oh, and they were saying Graceland Tunica?
Yeah, they were saying go to Graceland, all these nice things to do in Tennessee, and then, and then go down to Tunica. Yeah. Marty even said it's a nice go down for a day trip. And I don't think Marty understands. See, we're going to go to Tunica and be there every day and then just take a few hours to go to Graceland.
I'm going to still blame you because you're the one who brought up Graceland last time, right? So,
that's true.
I'll blame you.
I was just looking for a reason to get to Tunica or somewhere.
somewhere. That's right, yes.
Somewhere down there.
All right, so that's a possible trip in the future.
That's
that
definitely
actually
a
works.
trip.
Yeah.
And, I've always wanted to go to Memphis. Too. I mean, there is a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, it's not just Graceland.
Yeah, it's not just Graceland. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to see there. And that's something I think our wives would enjoy.
All right, says you. I'm not so sure.
Well, I know my wife will enjoy. I can't speak for your wife.
Well, okay, but would she enjoy going to Tunica and then just having Graceland as like a side thing?
No, see, she'll go to Graceland and then come down to see me at Tunica.
Okay.
And I'll be in Tunica.
Now I see. So our wives will go. Okay.
Right.
Now it's making sense to me. Yes. Okay. Yes, I agree.
See, that's much more doable,
That
right?
makes more sense. All right. Next call.
Hey, this is Logan from Honolulu. This is a Vegas full strip report. Bought in at Red Rock for $500. Lost all $500 at a live crap table. Bought in for $100 at a shoot to win craps. And won $1,000 on that.
There you go.
Won 1,000?
Yeah, you won $1,000 at shoot to win, but starting with 100.
With 100.
So it can happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at the D, I had the roll of a lifetime, I believe. I had the dice for over 2 hours.
Wow.
2 hours?
Be all tall, and I only needed the 2 to make the rest of the prop bets on that. One of the players, I believe, when he cashed out, I want to say $5,000. I was like, very tiring. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, good. Congratulations, Logan.
He was wore out.
He was wore out.
2 hours. I mean, seriously, if I'm on a table and a guy shoots for 2 hours.
Yeah, even if it's a busy table and the rolls aren't coming that quickly.
No, that's a $30,000.
That's huge.
That's at least $30,000.
All right. Let's hear from Chris.
Hey guys, Chris from Canada. I've been listening to you guys for a while now and had a great time with some of your stories and a lot of your talk, especially about craps. I normally only play blackjack. So when I was in town last week for CES, I took the opportunity to try craps for the very first time. And in fact, it was because of listening to your particular podcast weekly that I even had any idea what the heck I was doing. But I was a complete noob walking up to a table. It was actually at the Excalibur. It was great, $5 table. The dealers were amazing. They were so supportive. Now, I must say this was during the day, so it was, I wouldn't say it was quiet, but it was definitely less busy than in the evenings. They were awesome. They taught me the 3, 4, 5 odds. They taught me how to bet on the pass and adding bets to the line using the come. And it was fantastic. And even that very first session, I bought in for $50 and I ended up leaving the table with 100. And, that's always a good thing. I did have a question though, because I played a couple of times after that, and I was always after reading a little bit, I understand that I'm a right better most of the time. I go ahead and I bet the pass line mostly. But there was one session I had at New York. I played a couple of times during that trip, and I just couldn't win. I couldn't win on the pass line, and it never occurred to me during that session to maybe jump to the don't pass and become a wrong better for however you do that. I was wondering if you guys had any feedback on whether or not you strictly play right or wrong all night, or if you do a mixture of the two. Either way, thanks very much. I appreciate the podcast, and you might hear from me again. Take it easy. Bye.
Typically, both of us play the right way all night.
Yes. We very rarely switch. Well, I never do.
You never do. Every once in a while, I will switch. But if I've decided to switch, I'll generally think to myself, I'm going to play the don't all night.
Yeah. And he usually makes a large announcement to so everyone can hear, I'm switching so that I'm helping Dr. Mike.
That's right. Yeah. I figure, well, maybe that'll change things on the table. But if I do switch, it's generally not for, one shooter. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to play the don't for a while. But
it's a very difficult thing to switch back and forth from a mental standpoint.
Yeah, that we've talked about that. Psychologically, it can
goes
just
poorly,
be terrible
it
for you.
beats you up.
Yeah.
If it goes good, yeah, you're pretty happy, but just the risk of that going bad, it's so mentally disturbing to me.
And just because you're on a quote unquote cold table doesn't mean the next shooter is going to have a short roll. You just don't know.
Here's what I would say: instead of switching from, say you're on the do and you're going to switch to the don't, instead of doing that, why not just take a half-hour break, go to another casino, or stay in the same casino and go eat and come back?
That's good advice. Yeah, I think that's better advice. Yeah.
Probably a better thing to do.
And the other thing about playing the don't, too, if you've never done it before, it's a different animal, kind of like playing poker is a different animal than playing blackjack with people at a table, because you're the villain typically at a table when you're playing the don't.
Right.
You're the only one who's doing that, and so you can't really cheer unless you want people to get mad at you, things like that. So
yeah, and Chris also, he said he was a blackjack player typically. So think about it this way, Chris. It'd be like if you're on the blackjack table and things are going pretty good, and a guy walks up and sits down in third base or next to third base, and he's hitting 17s or something like that, right? I mean, all of a sudden,
I know it's not a perfect analogy, Dr. Mike, but I think I know what you're saying.
But you know how it changes the mood of everybody.
Right.
And
Everybody gets mad. Yeah, that's true. All right, one final call. Let's hear from Melissa.
Hello, it's Melissa from Dallas. I just wanted to say thank you for inspiring me to try craps and hearing you talk about it. I learned it off of YouTube videos, and so far it's been like a ATM for me every single time I play.
Nice.
I just seem to go on a monster roll, and my husband, you would laugh, he said, how long do you have to keep rolling? And I was like, I will roll all night long, but thank you. Anyway, to scratch the craps itch, oops, that doesn't sound right. I went to Oklahoma to the Choctaw Casino, and there they play it with cards and not dice, and it's definitely not as fun, but it did seem the 7 came up less. I just wondered if you've ever played with craps with cards and not dice, and what did you think, and is there anything I need to look out for? Thank you so much. Thanks for the show, and I appreciate hearing from you.
So in Oklahoma, they have to play craps with cards. And it's the same way here in California. So every week when we go out to the casino, we are playing card craps. Now, each casino handles card craps differently, but I think most of them now have set it up so that the odds are exactly the same as a real craps game with dice.
Statistically, it works out the exact same.
So at Choctaw, even though maybe it seemed like 7s were coming up not as often, it's a small sample size, and in the long run, it should come out as often as in a real game. Yeah. And at Choctaw, they've got a game that is statistically the same as a real craps game. And let me explain it to you, Mike. And if I explain it to you and you understand, then I've explained it correctly, I think. So
Okay,
here's
go
what
ahead.
they do. They just have 12 cards. They've got, like 6 of them have blue backs and 6 of them have red backs. And they mix them all together and put them in an automatic shuffle machine, just 12 cards. And the shuffle machine sets it up so then when it comes out of the shuffle machine, it's red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. It's alternating.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the person who's the shooter, designated as the shooter,
Right.
calls out a number between 1 and 6.
Okay.
And whatever number they call out, the dealer burns that
many
cards.
Okay, yeah.
And then the next 2 cards are the roll.
Right.
So the next 2 cards are always going to be, different color, a blue back and a red back, or vice versa.
Right.
And that's how they determine the roll.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. And
Yeah.
when you think about it, that's statistically the same. Now,
Right. I
the-
mean, that's not that much different than what happens at Harrah's Rincon when we go. It's just that instead of a person yelling out a number, they just lay all the cards out and you roll the dice.
and the
they-
dice determine which cards get flipped over. Yes,
right.
exactly. So the only reason that Choctaw game might not be statistically the same is if there's something weird about the shuffle machine, or if you could figure out something that's going on.
Or if the
but
cards got put in
in a certain way,
inappropriately, or one didn't get put in, it was one card
who knows
short.
with that? But I don't know if there's any way to take advantage of that. But if that's the case, then it should be the same. So
Right.
And card craps, we deal with it. We're used to it. That's all we have around here.
everyone who comes and plays. I mean, people will come and visit us, or you'll get some out of towners, and they'll be on. This card craps is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, if they're losing, it's like, it's the cards.
Yeah, I
It's
hate
these-
this.
these
Let's go to
cards are
Vegas,
terrible.
play some
And
real
if they're
craps.
winning, I'll hear stuff like, it's better. The cards, the 7 doesn't come up as much, or hard 8s seem to be coming up more on cards.
That's right.
No,
Yeah,
it's just that's
sample size is too small. Yes,
way too small.
Yeah. All right, so 360 Vegas Vacation 4 is coming up soon, and there's been a small change to our participation. We will be participating in the meet and greet at 4 p.m. Monday at the Bellagio Baccarat Lounge, along with Vital Vegas, Vegas Bright, and Melts Vegas. That's at 360 Vegas Vacation 4. Originally, our meet and greet was going to be on Tuesday at 4 p.m., but by then, everyone attending would have already met and greeted us, I would think.
Probably,
right?
right?
By
Because
then,
we'll
but-
be at the other stuff.
Yeah,
too.
we're going to go to the other side. Plus, we need to fly out of Vegas that Tuesday night. So that would have been kind of cutting it close. It would have been
Yeah.
hanging over our heads and,
Right.
everything. But anyway, hope you can come and join us. 360 Vegas Vacation 4. It takes place over Memorial Day weekend. So that's May 28th through the 30th. And I'll post a link to Mark's itinerary in our show notes. He's got a page there with all the events, and you can RSVP for stuff. So I'll put that in the show notes.
And if you're going to start summer, that's the way to start a summer.
I agree, yeah.
Right. Go
That's
to
it.
Vegas,
Go to Vegas.
have some fun, play some craps, maybe get a free Charger shirt. Something like that. It's a good way to
All
start
right,
the
now,
summer.
so now we're going to have to apologize for Mark because people are pulling out, right? I really don't want to win that
I don't want to
Charger
win
shirt.
that
Yeah,
shirt.
That's right. Something else that's coming up. So our friend Ed from New Jersey, he ran a 33 pool during this last NFL season. And remember, we talked about that a 33 pool is where everybody throws money into the pool and everybody's assigned like random teams in the NFL.
Right.
And if your team scores exactly 33 points that week, then you win the pool. Because 33 is kind of an odd number to hit.
Although
right?
this year it seemed to come up.
It did come up quite a bit this year.
And we've had years
Maybe
where
it's
it comes up once.
Yeah, maybe,
Right.
who knows what it is? Maybe, it's
we've theorized
combination.
about this.
Maybe it's the further back on the point after, or, who knows what. But
Could just be the stupidity of the players. I mean, how many times this weekend did you see kickoffs go into the end zone? The guy gets the ball, hesitates, and then runs it out.
Oh my gosh!
Gets to the 12-yard line
With
and gets
this, I know
tackled.
with this new 25-yard rule, they should all be taking a knee.
I mean, if
unless
I
they're
was a
taking it
coach-
on the one.
Right. If I was a coach, I said, unless you're getting it on the 1-yard line
Yeah.
or right on the goal line,
Yeah.
or one guy did fumble it a little bit and the ball kind of rolled into the fair
Yeah.
territory.
Yeah.
And so he kind of had to pick it up there and go.
Yeah.
But otherwise, 25-yard line.
You just watch how often they run out and they don't make it even to the 25. Or this
even
last
to the
weekend,
20.
I saw him. They go, he got to the 30, 35, and then there's a penalty.
Right.
You know, which wouldn't have happened if you'd just taken a knee. Right. So, all right, we can go on and on about. And that poor guy who accidentally fielded it right at the
1 yard line, and then
he stepped out. Yeah, he was right there by out of bounds, and he just he couldn't do it. He was thinking, I don't want to do this, and he just carried it out.
The silliest thing about that is if he'd let it go, it probably would have went out of bounds.
It would have gone out of bounds. They would have got it. Yeah, it would have been a penalty.
Yard line.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's the 40 now, right? Because it goes from the 25. Anyway, it would have been
25 plus 15. Right, it's the 40 yard line.
All right. Anyway, so Ed ran this 33 pool, and he said if there's any money left over at the end of the year, what he was going to do with it was take it to a casino and bet it all on a hard 6, right? 3-3, 33, right? So now, as it turns out, there were a lot of people during the season who won, and somebody won in week 16,
right?
But nobody won in week 17. So there was a carryover, unfortunately, just 1 week, but still, it was like $160. So, well, we didn't participate in the pool, but Ed did open up the hard 6 bet to additional players. So we have $20 riding on it, 10 for each of us.
Yeah.
So
they'll still bet their $160, but they'll take extra money from other people who want to get in on the action, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we have $20.
We've got $20.
So we'll win $200 if a hard 6 comes up.
Yep. So it's planned for Saturday, November 28th at the Borgata. So I really hope we win that. That'd be nice. Yeah.
Oh, it's all the way November 28th. Next.
Did I say November?
Yeah. You even typed November 28th.
I see it there.
We're going to go through another football season. Boy, Ed's really like, I think I'll hang on. He must be investing this money or something.
Oh my God. Now I'm going to stress over this all night long because there's no way to edit this out of the show. January 28th.
Now that makes
Saturday,
more sense.
January 28th at the Borgata.
Prior to the Super Bowl coming up.
Yes,
that
exactly.
Makes a little more
so
sense.
We'll let you know how that turns out. Some more betting here. So Louise in the UK, she noticed that there was a horse running at Punchton Racecourse over there in Ireland named Dr. Mikey.
Oh, nice.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, so she made a bet on him for us to come in first or second. So unfortunately, he didn't place, but thanks, Lou, for the bet. Dr. Mikey, how could she not bet on it?
What place did he come in?
I don't know. She
Probably
didn't
dead
say.
last. And coming in 18 lengths behind Dr. Mikey.
Also, thanks to Tom. Listener Tom was in Vegas this past weekend, and he said he'd like to make a bet for us on one of the NFL games. So, Mike, you picked Kansas City at -1.
You know, they were at home and they were playing so well, and Pittsburgh's been up and down, and I thought, this is, -1.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that close. And they lost.
Yep. So, but anyway, thank you, Tom, for
Refereeing
making
was
the bet.
terrible.
Yeah,
So
it was.
I'm
the
not taking all the blame on this
The
one.
officials in that game, it was strange. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, we want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, Brian, thank you very much. Also, Will says, thanks for playing my message. As always, I enjoyed hearing your commentary about it, as well as everything else on the episode. Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program to search through all the raw American TV data. Just go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and click on the link at the top that says TV listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonThat. We tweet when we're heading to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. Mike, we're going to a poker tournament this weekend.
Yeah, I got a nice poker. Our friend Dave's having another poker tournament.
Yep.
And you know what? We're going to go to the casino Friday night. At least I am.
Well,
I've kind of decided that I'm going to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we have a bunch of free play coming and stuff, and I just want to go.
Well, we had a winning weekend this last week.
We had a winning weekend.
You're anxious
so yeah,
to get
I got
back.
the craps itch, like Melissa said.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that is, I was going to say, so I'm going to go Friday. So Saturday, I'll have no desire to go to the casino at all.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to play to win this tournament.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to try and get out within a few hours.
Oh, I see. Because usually we go to his tournament, it's like, well, if we're eliminated early, we can still go to the casino. But you'll all be casinoed out.
I'll be casinoed out, and I'll be ready to win this tournament.
Okay.
So look for me on the final table.
All right.
Anywhere from 4th up, I think.
All right. Maybe I'll Periscope when we're there. Maybe if you go further than I do,
Shouldn't
I'll
even
just
talk about this. The other thing I'm going to say at the end of this podcast is now the Chargers are gone.
Okay.
We still love football. We're going to love the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And then we've got college basketball football
yeah,
tournament.
sure.
You know, the NCAA tournament, March Madness. We love that.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, it's just the stinking Padres.
Oh, you know, see, I love baseball. And
Well,
I
too.
do love the Padres.
I actually like baseball more than I do football.
Yeah, I don't feel towards the Padres
No
the same
animosity.
way that I do towards the Chargers at all. It's not even close.
But Mark, they are going to have a really bad team this year.
Yeah, I think you're right.
A very bad team this year.
Yep.
They had a very bad team the last quite a few years, and this year I think is going to be brutal. And you know, it's funny because you and I are the same. We both love baseball more. I love baseball more than I love football.
I do too.
I know it doesn't sound like I'm as passionate about it, but I really do love baseball.
Oh, me too. It's not even close.
I mean, I like the minutia of it. I like the whole.
Sure. Well, I like the statistics. It's very, we're math based, so it's a math lover's dream, baseball, right?
Right.
So,
there's so much to think about, statistically. So we love that, but that's all we're going to have.
Oh, I know. That's
and after
it. That's all we
baseball
got.
ends, then we'll watch some football and stuff and wait for March Madness.
Yeah.
And this year, I think we should make a March Madness trip somewhere.
This year?
Yeah.
What are you talking now? Why are you bringing this up all of a sudden? Aren't you going to Washington D.C. at the end of that month?
That's right. Never mind. I'll be watching it in
Maybe
D.C.
next year. All right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't forget. Thanks for listening.
Good night.